Anybody still here?
No, not really. But I mean, if you want to talk about something, I can't. I keep getting DMs, and they're saying, "Ask Arwin about how." Let me see. Hold on, let me read what it says.
What? I don't know about any DMs. Do people have questions for me?
Yeah, the DM says, "Ask Arwin how Bigfoot is able to camouflage himself."
Oh. Well, allegedly they do it through phasing, which is disputable what that even is. It's like changing they're not like cloaking as in bending light, rather they are like more dematerializing and phasing into another state of existence.
Oh, I thought they were joking. You actually have a real.
I mean, that's the theory
Yeah.
behind it. I'm not saying that it's real, but hey, if you're gonna ask a question, like I can actually answer these kinds of questions too.
I have heard that. Yeah, that like just like they appear and disappear in a way. Like that's why it's kind of interesting because yeah, it's like the idea like if these things are running around, you'd think we would find them, catch them, shoot them, kind of thing. But if there's something else going on, like which is kind of like almost metaphysical at that point, if they're some kind of being that is not anything like we're familiar with. But yeah, I've heard theories like
Well,
that.
the story reminds me a lot about Dungeons and Dragons phase spiders, which are basically giant spiders that have the magical ability to phase into the ethereal plane, which is like an adjacent plane, like the shadow plane, but ethereal or light. And then they are basically there, not detectable, not in the physical realm, but adjacent to it in another plane, in another dimension. And then they can just phase back in whenever they want to. Like, and that's kind of what that story reminds me of. And I mean, I'm pretty much open to anything as long as it's logically consistent. I like the idea of it.
You like the idea of Bigfoot's running around phasing in and out of shit everywhere?
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a similar concept that
Because
people
it's
talk
just
about
another
in terms
sign
of
of
like
magical creatures, right? It's just that would mean that not all the magical beings in this world are all killed off. And I like that. Like the idea that there's still something around that survived all this atheist onslaught and like anything, like just crusade against anything out of the ordinary and all that. I like the idea that it actually managed to survive. Yeah.
Magical creatures and where to find them.
Well, I was going to say there already is the idea that it's like this the spiritual world sort of overlays this physical world, like it's just like a slightly different frequency to where the spirit world. So the idea that like that, like even like the idea of ghosts, like how a ghost could like interact with the physical world, then there's like an interface there. And then when people have like out of body experiences and they sort of see the physical world, in a way that is like parallel to the world they went into when they left their body, as it were, or the kind of consciousness state, and that there's sort of that overlap. And just the idea that things could like appear and disappear from that realm, basically, or from the spirit world, whether that's a spirit or a ghost or anything like that. So that idea kind of reminds me of that. Yeah, if there's like the Bigfoot type or the Sasquatch characters that could, if they could do that, if they could shift in and out. But then the question is like, are they a soul then? Are they spirit or are they physical or do they have some other ability? I know some might see this as kind of out there because it is almost like science fiction level, but
if
it is
they are
interesting.
beings that procreate, then they're originally rooted in the material world, but they may have developed a way to basically phase out, right? So temporarily not be physical, go to that other place as if they were dead, but then they rematerialize because they're not really dead. I mean, yeah, How else do you explain that? I think they're not like spirit beings that then have a ghost, like an apparent body or anything. I do think they have real bodies. I It's not like they're just like a hologram, and when they die, they literally vanish or something. I don't think so, that.
Yeah. Well, what are like the actual, like, do people actually catch them on camera, or people actually see them? Like, I've heard stories. I've never seen one, but I mean, to what degree have people actually like captured them, or have seen them? I guess like the level of validity.
It's really hard to tell for sure. Because, I mean, they might literally just be just like humans in suits. I mean, that's the irony of it, right? It's very easy for a person to just put on a monster suit and then, oh, I'm a monster. Well, if there's a creature that just happens to
You ever
look
seen the
exactly like a human putting on a suit, well, then people are always going to
you
believe
ever
it's
seen
fake.
you ever seen the video footage coming from like I think it was Yosemite National Park. They've got a few cameras up that kind of view portions of the park, and they got footage of what appeared to be a bipedal hominoid running at high speed, chasing a small herd of buffalo. There was actually more than one of them, and the speeds these
Whoa.
things were captured running at, like you'd be hard pressed to find a human that could probably do that, let alone in that terrain. I'm pretty sure it was like in the snow, so it was. Yeah, you could see that on YouTube.
That's hilarious. And it might be true. I mean, might just be one of those things.
I mean, it's probably hard to run in a monkey suit, let alone at high speed in snowy conditions, chasing a herd of buffalo, and then to find two people that could do that. I don't know. It's kind of ironic they would be in the middle of Yosemite Park, not even knowing these cameras were probably even watching them. Because I'm pretty sure these things got like pan and tilt capability. So I don't know. It just seems like
Okay.
pretty odd.
I mean, I'm open-minded about it. And I'm fine with it either being faked or it being real. And it's like, yeah, whatever it is, I'm all good with it.
So I don't know. I mean, who's to say? It just seems like there's an awful, a lot of video footage, and a lot of it seems pretty suspicious. But when you catch something out of the norm, like the thing running at high speeds, or the face contorting and shifting like something like a mask wouldn't do, um, you got to kind of wonder.
It's almost like we're fighting against something that's not flesh and blood or something. It's weird.
So y'all really be thinking that Bigfoot is running around up in here?
No, man. I mean, how often do you get out into the middle of the fucking woods? I mean, and depending on what woods you're
Let's
in,
go.
but
Let's go right
I've
now.
been out. I've been I've been in some situations that were pretty much out of the norm, dude. Some stuff that I can't necessarily explain. I've had some situations, so
Well, I've
Dude,
just heard stories of.
sorry.
Oh God.
I was just gonna say, like, dude, in this information age, people are just like finding incredible things that nobody ever seen before, like in super remote location through supposed satellite imagery. Like, hey, what's this? I'm gonna go there. It's like in the middle of nowhere. And then they go there and it's like, oh, there's just a building with like tunnels and shit. And like, whoa. It happens all the time, apparently. People make like a career out of doing this because things just keep popping up like everywhere, like all over the world.
Yeah, and I've heard stories about like the Sasquatch Bigfoot thing of like where they like you were talking about it running really fast. That's pretty interesting. But I've also heard where like it'll be like right up next to someone's like window in their house or something, and they'll see it, and then it'll just disappear, and then it'll show up like 400 feet, 400 feet away, and then it'll look at them and run back and forth, and then stuff like that. I mean, I know those are just like you could say, oh, those are just like anecdotal stories, or someone could say the person's just making it up and all that, but it is kind of interesting, like just in general, that there's even that it's a phenomenon to some extent. Is it all just made up? I'm not trying to shift topics. Maybe think of crop circles. Like, have we ever gotten to the bottom of crop circles? What those are about? Sort of to me in a somewhat similar category, like this phenomenon that, they're different, the two phenomenons. But yeah, I was thinking of that too while we were talking about this.
Yep, good old crop circles. I mean, they're weird too.
When did
Somebody
that
brought
start?
up,
That started in like the 70s, right?
nah, crop circles have gone back, as far as we know, like there's ancient stories of, like a fog or a mist coming over some of the valleys, and there'd be crop circles left over after the fact. And then I think that was associated with like death and illness, because like plagues were tied in with that.
Weren't
And
ancient druids involved with crop circles?
not sure about that one.
I don't know where
Not
I
sure
got
about that
that
one.
from, but I think I heard something that like in that direction.
What are some verifiable facts about crop circles? Like, what are some consistent verifiable facts? Like consistent measurements? Are there?
There's electrical effects, and magnetic effects involved. Like I've actually gone to like a convention of that sometimes. Somebody explain exactly what's going on. And there are like basically very specific it does seem like somebody's just using it as an art to create very specific breaks like that are probably local heat generated or electrical generated, and then apply that to every stem of the plants of all the crops, so that it then automatically bends in a specific direction. Like it's a very refined architectural process that's taking place, and it's electrical.
I'd say more electrostatic, but either way. What
It's
about
also electrical. So,
spontaneous human combustion?
oh
Somebody
god,
brought that up the other day. I haven't heard much about that recently.
The patterns that they make, do they correlate to any of the cymatics patterns that we see? Any frequencies, anything like that?
Oh yeah,
Anybody ever
absolutely.
identified the frequencies?
Oh yeah, dude. There's all kinds of sacred geometry and ancient symbols and cymatic patterns and like even like alignments of like the like luminary alignments and things. Like they'll have certain like some of them have like what looks like actually positions of the sky. It's pretty interesting. And like Arwijn was saying, like when I've seen somewhere like the stalk is like perfectly bent all the way around. Like every stalk is like perfectly cracked and bent,
Yeah.
and then there's like no footprints. Yeah, it's
And
pretty.
very specifically like snapped in a specific way at a specific height to basically make it all automatically go folding down in a perfect way simultaneously.
Okay, I was just curious if like, because each one of those what they call sacred, which is all just leftovers of original Babylon, but all of those geometric patterns are mathematical certainties based on frequency, hertz, wavelength, and all that. So depending on that, you can actually identify each and every wavelength according to the pattern. So if these things are leaving patterns, you can identify the frequency of whatever it was, which just I have
One of
mine.
the
It's
weirdest,
not a regular natural phenomenon. No.
one of the
you can't-
weirdest crop circles we got recently was we sent a record up on Voyager, and it had like a little like pixelated human and Earth kind of things, like a little design and shit, and it had a bunch of little data in this little like pixelated thing. So we sent that out on Voyager. It was like a gold engraved in a gold record or some shit. I don't know, a gold plaque or something. Later down the line, decades later, whatever, there was a crop circle that had somewhat of the same style of imagery, but it was like different. Like they looked like aliens in the thing instead of like a human kind of thing, and it was all like different info. You guys ever hear that one?
I heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, how many of these are fake though? That's the thing. It seems like if it is a real phenomenon, it would make sense that humans would also fake them. And
Oh,
if that
tons of them.
yeah,
I saw a documentary on guys that used to fake them, but some of them though, there are some anomalies with some of them. They'll go to and there'll be like a high radiation thing in the field, or there'll be like weird things with how the stalk was bent. There's some anomalous, but yeah, I'm guessing on like a lot of them are fake, but some of them are weird.
have you ever heard the theory that it's like an orb of light that actually creates them? That people have claimed they see like a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
orb of light that's like whipping around really fast.
There's footage of that even. There's one of those videos that actually shows them forming, and there's an orb. That video is like from 3 decades ago.
Be cool if you could like set up a communication, like on the other side, as it were, with some like if there is some kind of metaphysical or like spiritual source of that, where you could like set up like get a communication, and then you could like ask it questions, then it would like do a crop circle to answer your question. That'd be pretty cool.
Oh, but give me the answer in a crop circle form.
Yeah, like give me the answer to this, and then the next day, boom, there's a crop circle that gives the answer.
Dude, Bigfoot's legit, dude. You guys were talking about Bigfoot a second ago, just to run it back real quick. I've been telling you guys to watch that for years. Lloyd Pye, everything you know is wrong. He goes in deep on Bigfoot, dude. The shit is juicy. It's juicy.
What does he say
Posted it
about
in
it?
the live stream. Like a 2-hour lecture this guy gives all on
I
Bigfoot,
found
dude.
it.
It's friggin' awesome.
Listen, just so long as he doesn't accost me out in the
Ooh.
woods, we're good.
I totally called it. It's exactly from 96, 30 years ago. Posted it. I saw this footage on a convention in 98.
Well, dude, the Patterson video is probably the most famous Bigfoot video. And like you could see in the video, it was a female Bigfoot, and the breasts were like they were like, you know what I'm saying? Like it looked like real breasts. Like back then, like boob jobs were like they weren't good like that. Like it's real because the boobs. I'm just saying. Like the guys that fake that, instead of faking that, they could have made you know what I'm saying? They could have went to the fake boob industry and made zillions of dollars.
What? What are you talking about?
The Patterson video was a female Bigfoot. They caught it on video. It's the most famous Bigfoot video out. Is that what you're talking about? We're talking about Bigfoot, Arwyn?
No.
Oh, we're talking about.
And you was talking about Big Willie.
No, I was talking about the crop circle video. Like, there's an orb video from '96, and I found it and posted it.
It's
Dude, I
interesting though,
haven't.
that was so much more popular back then. Like you don't really hear about crop circles anymore as much.
Well, they probably put the kibosh on them because they're probably like, oh shit, some of these are real. Let's push that they're fake. That way we don't have to explain it and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Or to make a bunch of fake ones and then convince everybody it's just either inconclusive or fake to kind of push people away.
You can't forget this is like the X-Files age.
Fight the future.
No, the '90s. It's like the time when the X-Files got popular. So people were just categorizing this with like aliens. Like everybody, aliens, right? That's the thing we weren't supposed to believe was real. All that. I mean, there was literally a concerted effort, like with Hollywood and government, to make the people believe in aliens, and they did it by making the government deny they existed.
Oh, do you mean to get people thinking they're rebelling, but really they're kind of playing into the hand of the agenda?
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a classic classic approach they take.
Now they admit to aliens, but now no one believes in them. The irony.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's because they want you to go back to the aliens. Go back to the aliens. No, not flat Earth, bro. Aliens. Go back to aliens. Not. No. It's all fiction, probably, bro. Who knows?
But I have to imagine from
Alien
their
was a good distraction from that, like the whole moon landing nonsense, right? That they didn't go back. So aliens was like the go-to thing for people that were interested in that sort of thing.
I'm still interested. I still love aliens.
Well, that's a good point, though. It did seem like the 70s, 80s, and 90s were like all about rationalizing why they weren't going back to the moon in a lot of different ways. And yeah, the whole like, oh, you know, there might be a secret space program and all that stuff that got rolled out. That's interesting to think about that way.
The
'Cause,
secret
like,
moon base.
yeah,
They did go there, but they couldn't show you what they filmed because they found aliens.
We found
Had
aliens.
contact.
Yeah.
And so they had to like completely scrub the footage and redo it in his studio.
Yo, if
to
we
keep
are
it
if we are
clean.
on a globe and we did land on the moon back in the 60s and shit, I hope that's a true story right there. We went up there and it was aliens.
I've heard
You
like
guys know, like, aren't into
supposed
aliens
CIA
anymore?
leakers say this sort of thing. I mean, this is what they wanted us to believe.
Maybe we were about to expand into the stars, but we ran into an alien race who just turned us into a cattle farm, and they hey, that's what it is.
Well, they were basically telling us like, yeah, you're not allowed to get outside of this territory yet. You're not
Pay
good
to
enough
play.
yet.
Pay to play.
Or like you're not liberal enough, right? Because of course the aliens were very, very liberal and equality for everybody and everything.
Like Hillary Clinton's an alien, you think? Like if this was Men in Black, Hillary Clinton would be an alien.
Yeah. I mean, that's certainly what she wants to be.
I do question. I know some people might find this wild, but I do question if some of these politicians are humans or not. Like Hillary Clinton, just is that individual a human? I don't know. It's very strange.
They
She's not my
might.
She
number
was born
one.
a human. She's just been severely manipulated and degraded spiritually to the point where whatever's there now, that's not human. But I mean,
Yo,
the flesh is still human, sort of, barely
Maybe
holding together.
she might be one of the Toad race.
The what?
The Toads. The reptilians, bro. Everybody, they want you to think that they're like some, fictitious, what is it, velociraptor. They're all like nefarious and,
Yeah, I get it.
cunning, but actually they're more like toads. That's what they actually look like, and they wear masks.
Well, that makes sense because if they were reptiles, then we would find their scales. Because reptiles shed their skin.
Well, everything sheds its skin. Even you do. That's what dust
Yeah,
is.
but reptiles do it in a whole thing, right? You can find hollow snake skins because they just drop their skin. That's what reptiles do that have skin like that. Reptilian skin.
I don't think frogs do that.
Yeah, but that's not reptilian skin. They're not reptiles, frogs.
Yeah, they are.
No, they're not.
Aren't they?
No, they're amphibious creatures. They're not reptilian.
I thought they were a reptile.
I don't think so.
reptiles
they
lay
gotta-
eggs, which. Well, hold on. Here's the thing with the reptile thing, because you could debunk dinosaurs with this whole "what's a reptile" thing, because they say that dinosaurs were reptiles, but some of them didn't lay eggs and shit.
But just Google it and Google agrees. Frogs are amphibian, not reptiles.
Bro, have you ever seen
another
an
class.
artist? Have you ever seen an artist rendering of the hippopotamus when just given the skeleton to draw what he thought the animal looked like, and then compared that with what a hippopotamus actually looks like?
No, I don't think I've ever seen that, but I've heard
It's
of it.
ridiculous. They got it looking like some kind of ridiculous monster, bro. It's because
They
the
love to do
skeleton
that.
doesn't tell you anything if you don't know what the animal is already.
I agree to that. I mean, the dinosaurs are just made up. There might have been some really big reptilians, but not like the ones they're claiming existed.
But if there was big reptilians, like, could they still be? Well, yeah, not maybe. I mean, not the dinosaur thing, but I mean, do you think? Well, I guess, like, do you think there could have been a reptilian race, and then now they're covering it up with the dinosaurs, but that those reptilians still exist?
No,
did they
I
really
think that
extinct?
those reptilians, the big ones, they did not survive the flood, and they all basically ended up petrifying and becoming part of the landscape.
So nothing remained reptilian from that.
There might be some large dinosaurs somewhere downstairs in shale, right?
Bro,
Just like going to the center of the earth from Jules Verne, he said there was dinosaurs there. Like there could be, but not up here. I mean, maybe Nessie something, but that's like, is that even real? You know?
So conjecture, rumor, supposedly now, in pre-flood Babylon, they had tech kind of like what we're seeing coming out, where they were splicing creatures with man and things like that. Maybe they spliced man and toad, and it survived the flood. Ooh.
I don't know about that. Toads still have to breathe, you know.
They're pretty good swimmers, though.
True, but they can drown, especially if the water is very tumultuous and there's nowhere to land.
All the vegetation flooded. There's plenty of lily pads. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I mean, when there's a flood, those lily pads are not just gonna surface and float there because it's
There's
giant
logs.
flood, maelstrom,
It's all
total
kinds of.
chaos. Things are
I'm just
gonna
saying
get
that
smashed and cut up.
you're trying to protect the toad people.
Look, as far as I'm concerned, there could be any kind of sort of different humanoids out there. I'm all open for it. Like
He might be a toad
I would
person.
actually enjoy it. I would be like, ha ha ha.
How did you find
Screw
out?
you, fucking Catholics. Screw you. Like, you couldn't ruin it. You couldn't destroy it. It's still
So like
out
with
there. I'm like that.
So like with vampires, you have garlic, right? So with the toad people, what would it be? Would you like throw salt at them? Like how do you identify them?
You lick their backs.
Ooh,
You were asking
that's
for it.
now you sound like that rabbi. That's weird. Toad person.
I don't know. If there's toad people, I think they would very much visually be identifiable and very hard to camouflage.
Well, this is where it comes into if there's more land. Because if there's more land, if there's other species and there's more land, that's even more of a motivation for them to lie to us about the globe. You know, like they would really need to keep us only on this land that we're
Yeah,
on and tell us that's it. There's the ball. It's out in space, billions and trillions of light years from anything else. That's it, guys. It's just like a little prison. But so
right.
These, hold on real quick. These reptilians, they could be on the same land we're on. Like they could be underground. They could be out in the woods somewhere or something. Like we didn't explore everywhere. Like we do most of the surveying, but from the air. Like there's a lot of places. Yeah, dudes go out in the woods and go hunting sometimes, but like if you're faster and smarter or whatever, like you could dodge just like a Bigfoot or a reptilian overlord from the underworld or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I mean, Bigfoot has the ability to phase out, which is like really a good way to just stay hidden forever, pretty much. But reptilians don't seem to have that ability, but they do typically, so they say.
How do you know that
Put on a
Bigfoot
good
has that
costume
ability?
and then infiltrate humanity.
Arwin, how do you know that Bigfoot has the ability to phase out?
This
Because that's what I've
Bigfoot
been told.
101.
That's what I've been told, and I just agree to it because why not?
And I've heard people's experiences where they appear and disappear in front of them. So, I mean, that's obviously just their claim. So, I've never seen that, but
Right, and one way to explain that is they phase out, like not being physically there anymore. I mean, that will
Like,
certainly
wouldn't it
help
be
them walking
Arkin's
through
razor
walls.
here? If Bigfoot is a real thing, isn't it more likely that it's like some kind of primate that's way off in the wilderness than alien whatever
That-
ape that can phase out? Like, doesn't that seem less realistic?
No, because then
I'm a
people would
7 and
just only have sightings of apes and not ape humanoids that phase out. Right? It's about that experience. Otherwise, they would just think, "Hey, that's an ape," and nobody would care.
I'm a
If you
I've
see
heard a
an
lot
ape,
of
it's real
Bigfoot
ape,
stuff. I've
man.
never heard about them phasing out. And like, do you
a
see?
7.
There's lots of animals that are in the wilderness that you never see.
well, I
For
hear
Not
you. I
that
mean,
we
260
know
years.
of.
yeah, I mean, the
Just
phasing out
when
thing
we-
is pretty, in terms of like the Bigfoot lore, I mean, it's pretty talked about quite a bit. But the thing about if it was just some other like actual, creature out there, it just seems like, I know this is just maybe like a appeal to something, but I was just gonna say, like, I mean, it just seems like humans, we would have found them by now. Someone would have shot one of them, dragged them inside. So it just seems like we would have isolated it at some point, or like found one, or something like that. That's why, like, but if they appear and disappear, that's a whole other story. You're not gonna shoot them and bag it up.
There's
Right, and
stories of people.
if they get wounded and can't phase back into the ethereal plane, then literally their relatives come to collect them.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Like, they're
stories of
not
people
stupid
having.
animals. They are actually like tribal humans. human
I guess what I don't understand is how you can speak with such authority on the subject when we don't really have any evidence.
No, we're just speculating. I don't think anyone's claiming
Why
facts.
not?
I don't know. I thought that like some people were saying, no, this is for sure what's happening. That's what it sounded like to me, but you're speculating. Fair
Based on
enough.
the assumption that that is legitimate, I'm just rolling out the lore as it's been gathered. And I'm
It's
in
like saying
favor
a
of it being
vampire.
real. I'm not saying I have evidence for it, but I'm definitely in favor of it being real.
You're saying like if we were talking about vampires, you'd start bringing up like crosses, silver bullets, holy water, garlic, the basics. Here's the thing though. It took us 60 years to find a panda bear. Right? Stories came out of Asia. Stories came out of Asia like, yo, there's this black and white bear that eats bamboo. And as we're like, get out of town. Went and looked for it, couldn't find it, gave up. 60 years later, it was like JFK's kids who ended up finding it.
Yeah, but have you?
Or
Oh,
the first one.
that's not sketchy. Have you heard though that pandas are like not natural? Have you heard that pandas are not natural animals though? That they were like
Yeah.
genetically engineered in a laboratory kind of thing. So that's even more sketchy. If it's like, oh yeah,
They're
we found them
hybrids.
after 60 years.
We got them, guys. Yeah.
They're hybrids like mules are between a regular black bear, I think, and a red panda, which is an actual animal, an original one. It's a hybrid attempt, and from what I heard, there was a time in the 18th century where there was like this expo where they showed off all these weird different hybridized animals like this, and the panda was in that, and it was the only animal that was actually capable of procreating, although extremely limited. Right? And that's why it's still out there. All the others, they all died and never were respawned.
Yo, one of the craziest creatures, probably alien, pistol shrimp. These guys can make light by moving. That's crazy. Not a lot of things can do that.
What?
You mean that they create sonoluminescence?
Yeah.
By moving so quickly that they make a bubble in the water.
Yeah,
that creates light? Yeah.
They're in my top 10 of aliens things that are like animals that might be aliens. They're in my top 10.
You mean that? What is that? Like a crab?
It's a shrimp.
I just posted
Right,
it.
shrimp
Just,
like has lightning speed hits. And yeah, that's bizarre, but it's real.
Creates like a cavitation bubble and then sonoluminescence underwater.
It's basically a vacuum punch.
Yeah.
Punching so fast, he creates a vacuum that basically explodes and shatters everything.
Cuttlefish are also on my list. You ever see those things? Those things are crazy. A lot of the underwater stuff is nuts.
How about fireflies?
Yeah,
That's real.
bioluminescence.
No, it's chemical.
Anything with luminescence in it is probably a top 10 alien.
I've seen real fireflies, like groups of them. Like in the
No,
90s.
they're in my backyard every night in the summertime.
Awesome. I love those.
Yeah. You could just see my whole backyard blinks up. It's crazy. It looks awesome.
What is the purpose in nature? What does that do? Like for them?
I think it's a mating.
Make us happy.
To look cool?
I think it's a mating thing. I'm not sure though. It's probably mating.
Yeah, they're luring. It's the males luring the females.
Animals don't really want to be known or seen. It's like the hidden forest theory. You know what I mean? All the animals stay hidden until it's time to mate. Like frogs will climb up to the highest limb and risk a bat picking them off and croak real loud so they can mate. Like they always will risk it for the biscuit. So they did it all for the cookie.
The
No,
what?
seriously, they did it all for the cookie. That's the only time they'll like give their position away, is when it comes to mating. Otherwise, they don't. Well, some animals will give their position away, but it's for other things. But like a lion will roar and let his know, like, yo, this is my spot. But most animals will not give up their position. It's just
Not
tactical.
position, but they will mark their territory. They will make it known that they're there, though.
Some animals will, some animals don't. Most animals don't want anything to know anything of any animal, other animal where they're at. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, they only mark the territory if they're confident that they are like on the top of the food chain.
Like lions, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The lion will go out and just roar and be like, "What's up? Come see me." Or, I'm just letting you know, yo, I'm out here. We out here.
Right.
Hey,
And
Here's
dogs and wolves.
here's an interesting thing about. I don't know how you would prove this, right? But they say the animals mark their territory not to like be like, oh, I'm here, but as a timekeeping device. The same way that they can kind of sense when you should be coming home. Like I think we had that talk before, based on the strength or magnitude of the scent. So they know it's like a
Huh.
timekeeping device.
That's fascinating. I mean, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
But what are
I mean,
they
I
keeping?
guess there's ways. I guess there's ways you could prove that. You could like study their behavior, how they act after a certain amount of time by smelling or something, and then make a educated guess. But proving it would be tough.
But what are they keeping time for?
To keep in line with a structured daily routine for stability?
Yeah, maybe it's something like that. I've never heard this. They're doing it to keep time thing, but it's interesting because when I walk my dog, which I walk her every day, I let her decide where she wants to go, and she'll rotate routes around the neighborhood so she can pee in all the same spots, like, twice a week or something.
See that? Maybe they're onto something.
Maybe. I always thought it was like, those like apps that people use to like check into restaurants. I thought that's what dogs were doing, just like checking in at the Rock and checking in at the fire station to let the other dogs know, hey, I've been here.
They kind of are, but that same checking device would be like beep 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 time for female dog.
Yeah, but isn't that also like how they like it's like map making basically? They're making a map because if they're roaming about, and they want to know where they've been. And if they're back, is it like a partly like making a map of sorts? Because if they leave their scent various places and they can get back to where they were, is that a factor of it?
I have no idea, but that makes total sense. I've never thought of that either. But yeah, that's probably what they're doing to some degree.
I mean, they don't have GPS, so how are they going to know where they're going? I'm just joking, but
Well, some animals are using magnetism. Remember the other night we were talking about magnetism, and there is a lot of animals that align north-south. Insects, fish, cows, dogs, uh, just tons of stuff.
you mean when they like? What do you mean they go north and south when they sleep or when they?
It's different for different animals. Some of them will graze. Cows will graze north-south. Generally, not always, but generally they'll graze. Like dogs will generally poop facing north south. Not always facing north, but they'll be aligned north-south. They like that alignment. Insects do it. Fish do it.
Well, that's the claim that as humans we sleep better if you're aligned. Like in Feng Shui, that whole practice, you're supposed to sleep with your feet facing north and your head facing south. Is how it is in Feng Shui. But I've also heard though that you're supposed to have your head north and your feet south. But either way, it's similar to what you're saying. I have noticed a difference in sleep when I'm faced north or south. Aligned north and south versus east and west myself. But so anyone could try it too, see if you notice a difference in your sleep. But I mean, you're saying that about animals, but what if what if that's the same with us? Like when we sleep, being aligned that way too has an effect.
I got my bed aligned east-west. There really ain't no other option for my room because the wall space is weird. So
Well, that's why it's connected to Feng Shui because that's when they do Feng Shui, it's all about the energy in the room and how it flows and the spiritual components of it. So, I mean, in Feng Shui, they will not they will not like sacrifice that. Like they won't just say, "Oh yeah, put it east west." Like no, like you got to figure out how to, in their perspective, like you got to figure out how to make it face south kind of thing. Now, I hear you though. Certain rooms, yeah, if there's like a closet and a door, and then it's hard to do, or you have to place the bed in an awkward position to do it.
it's just not even. It's not even doable for what I got going on right here. There's weird walls, closets, doors. Yeah.
I mean, dude, I've been in hotels and I want to face the other way, and I'll just put my head at the feet of the bed and the feet at the head, like just for just a makeshift. It's kind of interesting too, with like the idea of like I know people have different ideas, either positive or negative on the ether, but I mean there does seem to be that east to west flow, like the Sagnac effect, and anyways, all of that, which I guess we could talk about all that, but I'm just saying in general, if there's like an east to west flow, then it's kind of interesting, like if your body's aligned with that east to west flow versus north to south, if you're actually like aligned with the field differently. I mean, like the Sagnac
I've
effect,
also heard.
it's an east-west thing, which is why they have to claim the Earth is rotating to account for it, is their whole deal. But I'm just saying it's not like north-south in terms of that part of it.
I've also heard that. Now I have no evidence for this. This is just an old wives' tale from the sea. But I've heard that razor blades will stay sharper if they are aligned north-south.
Wait, you mean just they sit? I think I've heard that. You mean just sitting in the drawer?
No, I mean if you use them, if you're using it, like it'll stay sharper for longer if when you're done with it, every time you put it facing or aligned with north south.
So like storage, like okay, so like you're saying in the drawer, if they're aligned north-south, they stay sharper longer. That's wild.
I mean, it's gonna stay as sharp as it is. If you don't use it, it's just gonna stay the same sharpness. I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, it's just something I've heard along the way.
It's not a totally different topic, but Arwin, if you're still at your mic, I was just going to ask, like, it's not a different topic, so if you guys want to go back to any of that stuff, but it seems like we're just kind of lingering and just kind of not like a major topic. But Arwin, I was going to ask, like, in terms of the stars and the GPs, do you think there's like consistent GPs on the ground for every star and every celestial body? And then if there is, does that imply that the stars are like in an actual position above the ground if they're always in a consistent GP? I just wonder what you thought of that, because like in terms of like everything being kind of apparent and some of those, I think about the GP issue with that. Or not, I'm not saying it's an issue with your idea. I'm just saying with some of the ideas I've thought about that relate.
Okay. No, there's no singular GP point. Right? I mean, all the stars all rotate, so the GP in actuality is always going to be a line.
Right. But if we took like a freeze frame of the sky, like if we froze it at like 2 a.m, and then you adjust it for like 4 minutes for the sidereal versus the solar day, then like every night you could see the same snapshot or the same position. So like if you snapshot it, do all those have a consistent GP? Do you think? Because if they do, does that imply that
The
they are like?
GPs don't shift. Of the
So they do.
stars.
They stay consistent. You're saying if you freeze frame the sky and you took
Yes,
the GPs.
all the non-wandering stars, right? Because the planets, they wander, the sun and the moon, they wander at a separate reference frame on the celestial sphere. All the fixed stars all have fixed GP lines. Yes. The celestial sphere rotation angle doesn't change by itself.
So if you're saying they're like holographic manifestations, it's that they manifest consistently. Is then what it would be? Depending on where you are on Earth,
Yeah.
it's always consistent. It's not just, wherever they are. They manifest in a consistent way.
Yes, the angular relations between the celestial apparent angular navigation is a reliable system because of its permanent consistency.
I can't get past the holographic, Arwin. How? Like, it has to be projected. Maybe a different word for holographic, because where's this projector? How is it constantly being projected? I can't get my mind around that.
It's from the fifth dimension, man. You have to be fifth dimensional and able to see it. Does that help?
What? What?
Hey, you want an explanation? That's the closest to an explanation I can give to you.
I do want an explanation, but it just, it just seemed as a far-fetched one.
Well, holography is a real thing and has all of the
Holograms are a real thing, yeah.
Yeah.
But a hologram, you're not going to feel the heat of the sun from a hologram. And what's projecting
will.
that hologram? You need something to project it then. Who's maintaining that machine? How's it
Yeah,
powered?
well, we can't trace it back, but yeah, you can definitely feel the heat from a hologram too. Just put the hologram generator in overdrive, more energy into it, and you'll feel it. If it's strong enough, you'll even get a tan from it. One of my favorite sayings. Remember that? You can get a tan from a hologram.
I could be speaking out my ass here, but don't we only get tan through UV light?
Yeah. Well, then include UV light in the hologram. Duh.
Right.
Like, duh.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about a giant UV light projecting a hologram into the sky that, like, you don't see, like, how that could be a problem?
No. Not if it's projected from the fifth dimension.
It's not a problem because it's projected from the fifth dimension. That, like, how could you explain that more? Could you go into detail with what that means? Because really, that's just words right now.
Yeah, well, it's the dimension through, right? Through and back. It's not up or down, forward, backward, left or right. It's through and back. And it's coming from the other side.
Yeah, because that is like the interface. I mean, this physical, corporeal, material world that we live in, and then we have these celestials above, which we can really only view. I mean, I know NASA's going to claim they're probing things, but that's a whole nother. Really, we can just see it. So yeah, I mean, does it have to be the same physics that we think of here? Not necessarily. I mean, there's all kinds of. I mean, when I think of like the neurons in our brains are unbelievable. All these electrical impulses. I mean, how is that being powered? How is that being maintained? I just sort of think of the stars like in an analogy to like the neurons in our brain in a way, because it's like the dome of the sky, basically. I'm not saying there is or isn't a dome, just using that as a general. Then you have like the dome of your head, your brain kind of
Right.
thing. So it's like the sky is like the brain of the realm.
And what if I told you that all those firing neurons that they claim is thinking isn't even actually the thinking? It's just the registry process of dealing with the thought, which is purely spiritual.
That's
The
interesting. The
nodulist writing it
electrical
all
reaction
down.
is secondary. Like the electrical connection is secondary, basically.
Yeah, it's like the spirit is what's doing it. It's non-physical, the process, but then there is a feedback with the physical body to, I guess, arrange the throne for it so it can seat there properly, and so it just fits. And so there is like all this synaptic activity, which I think isn't actually the generation of the thoughts, it's merely the registering of the thoughts. a secondary process. Like, it makes it easier for the spirit to manifest that way, in that direction, you could say. I hope that makes sense. I mean, I am basically improvising and out explaining this.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying for sure. Like the idea, because I mean, I would even say like the soul or the spirit is what like fuels the whole body. Like without a soul or spirit, the brain's not even going to do anything. So yeah, so it's like, is the spirit or the soul actually the spark of the whole thing in the first place? Which then means when you have thought patterns or something's going on that the brain is like facilitating. So sort of more like the brain is like the facilitator, or like the, well, it's sort of like a television. Like when you watch TV, the TV is not generating, the TV show. The TV show is obviously filmed somewhere else and it's being, transferred to the TV through wires or through wireless, and then you're able to see it. So in that kind of analogy, it's like the idea that the brain is like the kind of like the TV. It's the hardware, but then the actual TV show would be like, I guess in this analogy, like that would be like the soul or the spirit. That's actually what the real content is, and then the show sparks up the everything in the TV to make it display that way, so then you can see it. So yeah, it just makes me think of that, and it's
Right.
kind of like,
I think that like those brain processes are actually like interface systems that are biologically happening to deal with those thoughts. Right? If you like, thinking is actually like purely ethereal spiritual process, like in an energy field, and the brain activity is just there just so you can handle having the thoughts.
So is the physical body and like the ground and the earth, is that actually physical or is it spiritual like the sky?
What?
You don't think that the sky is physical, is that correct?
Are you guys asking me? What do you mean
Yes,
the
I was
sky
asking you or
is
anyone, but don't you say that there's actually no, like the sun's not an actual object, it's just a hologram projection from the
Oh,
fifth dimension?
the lights in the sky. Yeah, that's right. I don't think that they are physical in a sense that they are an object.
Okay, so the second question is, do you think the ground, including our bodies, are actually physical objects?
Yes, definitely.
Well, why?
Because they're tangible.
That's a
Entropy
good question.
wise, you can establish the chemistry. Yeah, they're pretty much, they have all the traits of what is defined as physical.
Why
you
have
can't-
physical bodies, physical world, physical sky, but holographic lights?
let's say it again. You cut out at the
Like,
beginning.
why would we have physical bodies, a physical world, a physical sky, but we have holographic lights? Like what?
Because
Why?
the holographic lights do not abide by the standards of how we define things to be physical.
That doesn't explain why, Arwyn. You
Yeah,
just
it
said
does. They don't
No, it
have
doesn't.
traits of what we know and define as physical.
Yeah, you're saying that they don't have traits that are physical, but you're not saying why we have lights that are holographic, but everything else is physical. Why would that be, Arwyn? Like it
Why
doesn't
don't you
make
go
any
ask
sense.
God? Sure, he'll tell you.
You're the one claiming it. God's not claiming it. You're
Oh,
claiming
really?
it.
So do you have proof that they are physical then?
You don't have proof. That's the point.
No, nobody has proof. There is no proof that they are physical, that they are
There's
anything
more
other
proof that
than
they're
a normal.
physical than that they're a hologram floating in the sky.
It's really not true. What is the proof that they're physical? Not, I mean, are you just going to go to NASA and government agencies, or I mean,
No, he's
Well,
not like that.
what are you going to
You just
accept as
can't get
proof?
it.
Like I can see the sun, I can feel the sun, I can see the effects of the sun growing plants and creating life, That seems pretty fucking real to me. Oh, sorry. I don't know if we can swear. My bad.
Yeah, and they seem to have like physical positions and stuff like that. Although I wasn't trying to go to that exactly. I was just, it piqued my interest when you said like, your thoughts aren't actually, a physical thing, that they're just representing some like spiritual dimension. And then when you say that the stars are projection from the fifth dimension, I would wonder, well, why you don't also apply that to your body and maybe to the earthly realm as well, and just say it's all
Well,
a
who knows?
projection from the fifth dimension.
Who knows where our information even comes from? Maybe we get that from the fifth dimension as well. I would not be surprised one bit. But I mean, the fifth dimension is only a go-to excuse for people who can't accept that they just don't know, accept that they can know what they know about it, and that doesn't answer all the questions you might have.
Well, yeah, I would just say that, like, if you're going to reject materialism in the sky, you should probably reject materialism on the ground as well, and just become an idealist and say that, like,
Why?
consciousness or. Okay, go ahead.
Why would I do that?
I actually was hoping you would.
Evidence
I
that
was
the
like
ground
hoping
is
you would do
physical.
that.
There's no evidence that those lights in the sky are objects that have actual positions. So
What do you
why
mean,
would
like,
I, just
what do you mean
because I
evidence that
don't
they're
have
physical?
evidence for physicality about the lights in the sky, why would I then declare, okay, then nothing can be physical? I mean, that seems kind of solipsistic. I'm not going to do that.
Like,
No, it's
what passes as like if something has qualia, then it's physical, but then that could just be
No.
metaphysical.
If it's
The experience.
physical, entropy applies to it, perspective applies to it, right? You can approach it. It has an actual location. It has
yeah, but
chemistry. All
I'm
that.
attempting.
All
I'm attempting.
physical traits.
I was just attempting to take it like a layer deeper and like say, well, why not just be an idealist, which is like, an ancient philosophy that says all of physical matter is ultimately an illusion and it's manifested from somewhere else. You're calling it the fifth dimension. I would just call it like ultimate consciousness or something like that. And there's if you can say the
Can
star
I
in the
answer the
sky.
question?
Okay, go ahead.
Why not? Well, it's very simple, because that's a freaking waste of everybody's time. That's why.
But it's not a waste of time just to say, oh, we can't know anything about the sky. It just comes from the fifth dimension.
We can view
it's
it.
just a quick go-to answer to make somebody stop bickering about it, because there is no answer.
Well, they had different names for this. I mean, that's why they called it quintessence, which was a term for like the high levels of this realm, like quintessence. So it's not the same as like the physical, ground we live on. It's like a different medium or like a different substance of sorts. I'm not saying you have to go off that terminology or philosophy. I'm just saying, like, in ancient times, that's why the celestials are different than the material, and they're separate. And NASA and the moderns, yeah, these guys try to claim that it is all physical, and that they're the ones reaching the the NASA and all those guys. But
I bet they didn't actually deliver physical proof, though.
Yeah, but so
Right.
he was saying that like when you think, I can't remember exactly the way you guys were putting it, but that when you think, like that's actually not like like your brain, like the neurons firing isn't actually you thinking, right? That it comes from your spirit or your soul or something like that, and it just manifests itself in this physical world as like neurons firing or something like that. And I'm just wondering why, like, it wouldn't be the exact same thing for the sun and the stars and all of that stuff in your worldview.
Because I'm not a simulation theorist, and I like to figure out the physics of things, and then when certain information just does not show up, it doesn't mean that I'm gonna just abandon physics altogether. Like,
You don't have to abandon
I'm
physics.
building a physical reality model of things.
Yeah,
And that's like
idealism
a
doesn't
very
abandon
rigid
physics.
process
I
for me,
think
and
that's
just
all it
because
maybe
I'm
is
running at
also
a
it
dead end
doesn't
doesn't
abandon
mean
the
I'm just
whole
gonna abandon it
idealism.
all. Thanks for letting me answer it.
Yeah, I just don't. Do you know? Do you know what idealism is, or like the principle? Like, that's all right. That's what. So then maybe it wasn't even a good question. Like, why don't
no,
you
I
just
think it's a
adopt
good question,
idealism?
because I mean, I don't really see it. There is a difference. Like, if you have Well, I do think all energy is ultimately spiritual and light and sound and vibration and all that, but there is a difference between the celestials and the physical. And like I would use those similar terms. I would say, yeah, the ground is physical. I mean, if somebody punches me, their hand's not going to go through my body unless they're really strong. There, you know what I mean? So there is a physical tangibility there. There has anyone ever had that experience with the sky, with the lights in the sky? Of course not. Like I said, NASA
Maybe
might
I
claim they're
get
probing the
really,
sun.
really high.
You gotta get real high.
Yeah, but you lay outside and you get a sunburn. And so like that is an interaction with a celestial object. And so like yeah, you can't walk up to it and touch it, you know, like you can walk up to a tree and touch it, but I don't really see really the difference except for like an arbitrary line that you're drawing to say, okay, well the sky's spiritual, but like the earth is definitely physical and real. It just seems completely arbitrary.
Right. Well, that's the same comparison to you watching something on your TV screen or whatever, and it really touching you because the story that you saw in it was just incredible, right? Was it physical to you? No. But it touched you, it had an influence on you, and in the same way, celestial, non-local, holographic, angular manifestations definitely have an influence, a palpable, measurable influence. But that influence does not explain its physicality.
Yeah, but
It's
you were saying that like your soul or whatever you said, thinking about something manifests itself in your brain, right? And the neurons firing. Why wouldn't the fifth dimension, when it manifests itself or projects itself in the sky, actually manifest as a physical object as well?
well, you're now just hybridizing my two completely different subjects that I do not lay a connection to. I mean, internal biology and spirit mechanics, that's not related to physics in that sense. They're not compatible. You're just going to confuse everything.
Well, but I mean, we were talking about like the electrical impulses in the brain, which is actually kind of similar to a luminary. Like, where does it come from? It happens, and then I guess it is more tangible though. If electrical, it can be tested, but there's kind of some overlap, some of that. Because I hear what he's saying. Like, if you're saying this, the spirit ends up interacting, because I do think that's the way it is. Like, the soul spirit is interacting with the body. Like, I don't think we're just material beings. The way the mainstream system of materialism will just tell you that's just what you are. Your neurons do what they do, and that's you. I don't think that's you. I think that the brain, just like I said, the television set is not the source of the program. It's just the vehicle by which the program can be displayed. So in the same way, the brain,
receiver.
yeah,
A receiver translator unit. So it's coming from somewhere, but not from like a little stash inside of the brain. When the brain processes things, it's processing something and doesn't explain where that came from. So it's not generating the information. It seems to be part of processing the information, not creating it from scratch.
I was going to say, when you get a sunburn, though, have you been able to, just on that real quick, have you been able to isolate, though, that the sun is actually what's causing the burn? Because what if it's something of the sun interacting with the environment that actually causes the burn?
Oh, that could also do. I mean,
Yeah, Oscar.
what you got on your skin can greatly influence how the sun is going to burn you, right? I mean, put aloe vera on your skin and you get almost no issues. But put some regular chemical sunblocker on there and you could like really a bad situation. So, but I mean, yeah, the sun is, when you're exposed to it, it is eventually going to be almost like you're just in a microwave or something. Like it is going to toast you. There is an energy exchange that definitely has an influence. Right? But the energy manifesting doesn't mean that it's literally coming from a specific point in space. It's just the energy is manifesting, definitely. But you can't even like pinpoint it that exactly where it's coming from. right? If you're going to have like a sunny sky, totally sunny, everything is going to be the same. You're just going to be toasty. But now imagine that the sky is extremely clouded, except for one spot where there's a hole, and the sun just happens to be right at that hole, and the cloud kind of moves around so that like you are continually going to be exposed exactly to that sun while it's still kind of cloudy around it. Well, guess what? You're not going to be as sunburned as if it were a completely clear sky.
I think you're
Despite
actually getting. I
being
think you
in
get more. I
direct
think you get.
line
I
of
think
the
you get more
sunlight.
sun.
Can't you just let me
I think you get more
finish the
sunburn.
fucking sentence, man? Jesus. God.
There's Arwin's kind personality coming out again.
All right, can we let Arwin finish? I don't know. No tanks. I just muted you for a sec. I don't know why you're interrupting. Can we let him finish? Go ahead, Arwin, if you can remember what you're
God.
saying.
Right? So if there's a hole in the clouds that goes around the sun and you get continuous exposure to the direct sunlight, yet it's being surrounded by clouds, you're still not going to be as sunburned as when the sky was completely clear and you're exposed to the sun directly. Right? So it's not even as much about the direct sunlight from that specific angle. It's weird how it works. It's an accumulation from all directions.
All right, so
not
now I
just
guess I'm
exactly
up.
where the sun is.
I mean, I just was going to help you out there, Arwin, before I leave and go to the more popular rooms, and that people typically get more burned up in the clouds. So I mean, your analogy, even though it was like an analogy, it might be built on a false premise. But I'm going to go to the
Never
more
heard of
I'm going to
people
go.
getting more burned
Don't
in the
interrupt me.
clouds.
Don't interrupt me. Mute them. I'm going to go to the more popular rooms now. I'll see you later.
All right, bye.
That was epic.
Is that
Never
like
heard of
supposed to
that.
the more popular rooms? I'm going with the cool kids, bro.
Cool.
Why is Arwin
Hope he
allowed
stays
to
there.
just be a total dick? Like, why is he so protected? I don't get this. Like, he's not a special boy. He's just like everyone else. Why do we have to treat him with kid gloves?
Excuse me?
Oh, you heard me.
Why are you looking for a fight?
I'm not looking for a fight, brother, but I know Arwin for a long time and I know how he acts. And I find it disgusting that he could talk like that to others. But if anyone ever does his medicine back to him, it's a fucking problem. Why?
Oh, really? I interrupt somebody
Are
in
you
the
bringing
middle
up
of a
something
very
from last
refined
week?
explanation? Is that what I do all the time?
Yeah, I don't know if you're
Just
just making
bringing up
comments
everything
based
in
on-
general. I'm just speaking in general with him. Like, that's how he behaves. He treats people like shit. He yells at people. But if anyone ever does it back to him, it's a problem. And then he gets people to protect him and he hides behind them. And then he talks shit from behind their legs. Why? Why do you guys all accept that? I find it crazy. Then he begs for money that he doesn't need. It's crazy, and you guys just fucking say it's cool. I don't understand.
I have no idea what you're talking about. It sounds like a bunch of history from other times, other places, other things. In the moment right there, he was clipped and interrupted by no tanks, and then he got a little frustrated. That's all I heard. Maybe I didn't hear every word that was said, but he was clipped and interrupted. So if that's what you're referring to, that was just simple moderation. The guy that clipped and interrupted rudely was temporarily muted. All this other stuff you're talking about, man, I don't know. It's a whole. But this live stream's not really for like all kinds of like beefing and dramas and stuff. So I mean, you could just take that somewhere
Well,
else.
my bad. But when that guy interrupted him, how did Arwin react? He yelled at him like he was a piece of shit. He wasn't polite.
Because he was literally droning right out detailed explanation. That's very frustrating when
Boo-hoo,
people
Arwin. Boo-hoo. Just be polite and just say, hey, man, I was trying to talk, or wait till he finishes. You don't have to be a dick about it. That's my point. And then you go and hide behind
I don't
people.
have to be a dick about it, but it greatly frustrates
You
me.
are a
so
dick
I did
about it.
anyway.
Exactly. You don't have to be a dick about it. That's
Yeah, well,
what
you
everyone's
don't have to
problem is
fucking
with
whine
you.
about it
That's
for
what
5
everyone's
fucking
problem is.
minutes
You don't
because
have to
you
be a
can't
dick about
handle
it, Arwin.
that I
You
get
can
loud
be dick about it.
sometimes. I'm
You
very
can just
sorry.
be no.
What's your
It's not okay.
contribution to this
It's not
show?
okay that you act like that.
What
It's
are you
not okay.
contributing to this show?
Dude, I don't want to mute people, but I just have to mute this guy. What do you want? What are you doing, Clutch? I don't know what you're doing, bro.
All right, brother, mute me.
Yeah, this live stream is, yeah, I know, but I'm just trying to tell you, this live stream, I just told you, it's not for what you're doing. So what are you expecting to get out of it? You just want to shout at him? Go do a direct message.
Why is
or
he allowed to act like a dick? Look, you're protecting him now. He's allowed to talk like a dick, but no one else is, right?
Nobody said that. You're just making things up and being deceptive.
I'm not making that up.
All right.
He literally,
You
he
are
literally,
making it up. You're
dude.
being triggered,
Jesus.
and it doesn't make any damn sense, man.
Let's get back. We were on some cool stuff there. These guys, it's just attackers all day.
This is the shit I have to contend with, man. I just get loud one time, and then they're like, just their entire day is ruined, and completely obsessed for some damn reason. I don't know what the fuck that is about. Like, I don't have a right to be frustrated and get pissed off about anything. Fuck you guys. I'm sorry. I got feelings too, and they can be pretty damn intense. I'm very damn sorry. Yeah. I'm not Spock. I'm not a Vulcan. I don't have like absolute control over every detailed emotion, okay? I'm a human being.
You're in emotional compromised state. I'm the captain now.
Okay. I'm thankfully I do have a sense of humor. But I'm never entertained when I'm like giving a very detailed explanation for which I make a lot of effort to do it right, and then somebody rolls right over it. That like really gets me bad. Right? In general, people can like talk right through, it doesn't matter. But when I'm like literally explaining something in fine detail because it's like a repeated question that requires detailed answer, when people talk over me right then, like that's when you get war. Like, don't fricking do that, man. That is all. Like, I don't explode anytime anybody interrupts me ever. I mean, why? Why would I do that?
Well, and what's happening is that when you come here, these guys who normally don't hang out here, they come and they follow you, and then they act completely vile. They get modded, and then they claim that someone's gatekeeping. And it's like, no, there's no gatekeeping going on. You're just being modded for coming in and doing that. Then they're claiming stuff that you've done at other places, not here, and then somehow expect that I'm, you know what I mean? It's just a complete mismatch.
Gio, you give me the benefit of the doubt and give me to speak and be myself, which means you're secretly a follower, worshipper, conspirator with me. Don't you know? Because if you don't immediately get super triggered whenever I get loud about something, well, then you must be conspiring with me against all them.
Oh man.
Arwyn.
Yeah, I mean,
define-
I hear what you're saying. That is kind of perhaps the mindset that seems to be the case because the thing is, I mean, on this server, like for 3.5 years, I mean, it's been modded consistently the whole time in terms of the consistency, and I mean, we pretty much give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I mean, you know how many people come in here and people say, "Oh, you should ban that guy because he did this, this, and this on somewhere else," and I mean, we generally treat people for as they interact here. So yeah, I mean, on here you've never had to be modded, yet these guys come in, they do have to be modded for what they're doing, and then and then they claim that yeah, it's weird. It's a strange attack on us just because you're here.
Sorry to interrupt you, but in the past, I mean, I have like kind of exploded on people and started like really yelling, and then people muted me, and I'm like, I get it. I'm not happy about it, but I get it because I literally went overboard. I really just went savage, and you guys don't want that, and I totally get it. Right? So I don't expect not to be modded. I have been modded in the past, right? But not because of like some political stance or philosophical favoritism. Like that's not happening. Just behavior based. And I totally respect that.
Yeah, dude, what you just said is completely spot on to what, in terms of this platform, what we've always aimed for is to, yeah, like unfortunately, like I wish we didn't have to moderate at all. That would be great. But obviously when the room is really busy and when stuff's going on, there's times that moderation, because without it, one person can destroy the whole room. And all the personal attack stuff, when it goes there, then that, it just ends up looping in that, and then we're not actually having good combos. So that's why we have to mod for that. But yeah, I mean, we mod for conduct, not for, like you said, not for like what your viewpoints are, or if you side with this or side for that, or anything like that. Because like if someone comes here and they don't ever do any of the conduct stuff, they'll just never be modded, never once, and they can express their mind and all that. So yeah, it's more focused on the conduct, focus on the conduct and not on like just opinions or kind of a lot of the other, I don't know. I know on servers I've been on in the past, like 24/7 and all that, it really was not about conduct. Like back in the day, it was just about whether you were going along with their whole thing, and then
Yeah.
yeah, they would ban you for
I
all
didn't
kinds of
like that
crazy
server
reasons.
much because of that.
It was crazy back in the day. It changed over time though. It definitely, like what it is now is even different than what it was back, long time ago. But it always kind of had that energy though. There was more about the political, like, oh, this mod had this drama with whatever, and then boom, you're banned for kind of like, yeah, try to box people out and all that stuff.
For falling out of line.
Yeah. Or going against the admin or having opinions about the server or whatever. Yeah, all that stuff.